Welcome to On My Couch. My co-host Sue and I really love having conversations with really interesting people about different topics. Helps us learn about things and topics that might be helpful for us from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective as well. So the intent, have a really good conversation, learn more, and ask really clever people about the stuff that they do. So Jane, thank you very much for joining us. I'll introduce you in a minute. Firstly, myself, Damien, I'm the founder of OMC Group. And what OMC Group does is we work with individuals, teams, and organisations. Fundamentally, we help people work better together. So that's about leadership development and culture, team effectiveness and strategy. But really, our outcome is how do we help people work better together? Sue, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, and in line with our guest today and the topic that we're going to be exploring, after you introduce yourself, I'm also going to ask you, to what extent is your house a sanctuary of abundance?
Thank you, Damien. Right, fantastic intro. So Sue O'Malley, 30 plus years in a sort of corporate commercial environment, now doing my own thing. I think they describe it as a portfolio career. So I find these discussions really interesting because I think you can become the world's tallest dwarf if you don't open your mind up to thinking about things differently and speaking to different people. So that's what I love doing in terms of these discussions. And part of your house being a sanctuary, I think hopefully everyone describes their house as their sanctuary because that's their safe place. And certainly that's how I would describe ours. Love being at home, but also very much love going out. So I'm not sure how that fits in with today's discussions, but I'm really looking forward to understanding a lot more.
Good, and really pleased to have Jane with us to explore this topic, because we're both very, very curious about this, Jane. So I'll let you sort of add and introduce yourself, but just some highlights. You're a Feng Shui Master, author of Feng Shui, A Homeowner's Guide to Abundance, accredited designer with the Design Institute of Australia, and also a professional speaker as well. So, welcome and thank you for joining us on our respective couches. The topic of today is something that certainly I don't know a lot about, so keen to learn more, and it's about Feng Shui, and so I'm really interested to explore this and see what, if any, applications, not only for home life, but also in the business and work environment as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and maybe just tell us a little bit more about you, and also I'm really curious about the transition from accounting to Feng Shui, because that's not normally a typical career path, I don't think.
Oh, natural progression, Damien. Well, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I have been practicing Feng Shui for the last, 16 plus years, since 2008. So yes, you're correct. In my previous life, my job was in finance and accounting. My last role was as a financial controller for a multinational. And the way I got into Feng Shui was that I had been renovating my home and I loved the design process. And while I had that corporate career, I was always thinking in the back of my mind, oh, I'd love to do interior design, I'd love to study it. But it was just, my work was just full on. There was no way that was ever going to happen. And then a few years later, a friend of mine suggested that I visit a psychic. And the psychic said to me, you need to go and study interior design. The corporate career is over. Study interior design. And then I loved the idea. I just had my first child, who's now 18. And I went to design school. My mum looked after the baby. It was just, everything felt like it was flowing really well. Then there was a break in the course after the first 12 months, and I was really frustrated because I just wanted to get that thing done. So I went back to the psychic, and this time she said to me, now you need to study Feng Shui and combine the two, and it's going to be really great. And I thought, you know what, that's a really smart decision. Great idea to have a niche in interior design because there are a million interior designers out there. But you know what, as soon as I opened those Feng Shui texts, I knew that was where I needed to be. And it was a calling from destiny. And I found out since the psychic told me that I have an ancient spirit guide who's a Chinese master from thousands of years ago, and I can tap into his wisdom. So I really felt like it was a spiritual sort of destiny type calling, and I've loved it, and I've never looked back.
Wow. Have you gone back and said thanks to the psychic?
Oh yeah, yeah. We became friends over the years, and actually, I work with her
Oh,
when I have problems, when I have clients who have problems with spirits in their homes,
yep.
or workplaces. So she's like the Ghostbuster. It's amazing.
Wow. Okay.
An incredible career path. So, correct me, it's Feng Shui. How do you say
So
it?
there are different ways of saying it. I call it feng shui, but you can
Mhm.
also say feng shui, feng shui, feng shui. Typically not feng shui, but if you want an easy way of remembering it, feng shui is a correct way of saying it. Like, it's a fun way to work with me.
Ah,
Very
cool.
good. That's good. It could be a tagline. So,
Yeah.
talk about its origins and how did you? I mean, obviously you talked about the psychic introducing it to you, but in your research in the topic, give us a bit of the history of its application and its origins.
Yeah, so feng shui has originated in China. It's been around for thousands of years. Originated back in the day because of placement of villages and how prosperous the village would become based on the location and the wind and the water. In a nutshell, feng
Mhm.
shui, the literal translation for feng shui is actually wind and water.
Right.
And since then, it has developed. Uh, Ancient Chinese masters discovered that different patterns of energy affected the human mind. Some people were impacted by being aligned with negative energies, and those that were impacted with positive energy experienced periods of great fortune. And so, from those guidelines came rules, technical calculations, and formulas that form the basis of feng shui today. So, feng shui is based on the art of arrangement, physical layouts, but also this intangible energy layer that a feng shui master can read and tap into.
Okay.
Now, feng shui is practiced in a modern context, in homes, in businesses. I mean, the type of clients that I work with are those in, from a business perspective, people who are looking to appeal to the Asian demographic.
Mhm.
Also, now with the wellness industry booming, it's much more than just the interest in the Asian market, because feng shui is very much aligned with the wellness movement. And I also work with people in sort of the casino, gaming, club industries, those who are like investment bankers, for example, who are doing big refurbs of their offices that are
Mhm.
welcoming Asian clients. I work with people like that. And of course, homes, especially at the building and renovation stage, because that is the time when you get biggest bang for your buck in working with a feng shui consultant.
How have you applied it in your own life, or have you redesigned your house since you?
Yes, I have actually. So I live and breathe feng shui. I apply the principles in my everyday life in terms of energy management. So that goes beyond the arrangement of my home and the layouts. It's about the media that I consume, the music I listen to, the people I surround myself with, the food I eat. So it's down to that level. But in terms of my own home, we undertook a major renovation. So when we purchased this home that I'm sitting in now, it was an old sort of 1950s home that was very solid, but I knew that there was great potential from a feng shui perspective. So this became, I guess, a flagship sort of project for me,
Mhm.
and that one that I could use for to showcase how feng shui can be combined with beautiful design, because a lot of people feel like feng shui relates to ornaments, tacky objects, superstition, religion, but really it's way much more than that. It's about energy flow. And a lot of people don't realize also that it should be aligned with good design.
Mm.
So there's a lot of myths and misconceptions out there.
So, and I'm just curious. So, I'm going to shift the conversation and sort of start thinking about how does it link into a work environment. But before
Yes.
we go there, you talked about some principles you live, the principles every day and everything that you do. At the risk of asking a really dumb question, so what are those principles that you bring to life every day?
Make sure you surround yourself with things that you love
Hmm.
and that uplift you.
Right.
They're the golden rules.
Okay.
Just try and surround yourself with positive energy where possible, even
Yep.
in terms of what you have in your immediate work or living environment. Make
Yep.
sure it's not things that you look at and think, oh, yuck, or that ma- produce negative feelings. So even
Mm-hmm.
things like vision boards are great to have from a work perspective, or
Mm-hmm.
positive quotes, things that make you feel alive, more productive,
Yep.
and yeah, that sort of
Cool.
thing.
And you sort of started taking us there, which I'm curious about, and then we'll sort of come back and talk more about it as well. But so, and you've mentioned that, you know, investment banks and you have some corporate clients as well. So
Yeah.
how is it relevant, you know, to the work environment? So if you think about things like, you know, productivity or teamwork or maybe even, you know, culture, how can these principles help bring those to life a little bit more?
Okay, so that you can look at it from a few different ways. In terms of culture and diversity, I think if you've got a diverse team,
Yep.
people who are interested in feng shui, the feng shui conscious market, I guess, or the feng shui conscious people extend beyond the Asian demographic.
Mhm.
And just by actually thinking about feng shui and incorporating it into the design
Mhm.
is is something that makes people feel like their needs have been considered.
Yep.
So there's that aspect. And the other aspect is actually in the arrangement of the spaces, creating spaces that help people to feel more productive or to
Yep.
feel more creative,
Yep.
to have cleaner air, I guess, with through the use of plants and helping people to connect with nature.
Yep. And so, can you just expand on that a little bit? So, if I wanted to, and I know it's hard because I would imagine you sort of your intent is to bring to life a place, you know. So it's sort of I suspect that what you do varies depending on the location. But are there sort of, if I wanted to create a you know a more, you know, more positive, abundant type of workplace? So you've mentioned making sure there's more space and there's more plants, and what else might, you know, we think about?
Yeah, so we're also thinking about the arrangement of where people are sitting. So the
Okay.
ideal is to have your back protected, back towards a solid wall if you can, with
Right.
a view to the entrance to the room and a
Yep.
view out to nature.
Okay.
So if you think about a room, let's say if you think about your home office,
Yep.
you've got the door in one corner. The area that's diagonally opposite the door, that's
Yep.
the wealth area of the room where the energy is most contained.
Right.
So that's the ideal space to be sitting within a room. So not with your back to the door, not with your back towards a busy walkway. So we
Right.
try not to be too exposed.
Right.
When you're at home, it's a little different to being in a very busy office, like
Yep.
a call center, for example, where people have others sort of rushing around behind them, and there's that instability. So the
Yep.
idea is to have that calmness behind
Mm.
you because that gives you support and protection and supports your authority as well,
Yeah. Okay.
which is
Interesting.
why a lot of people like the corner office, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like an area where the energy is most contained and they can get a view out to nature.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
Mm.
interesting. And then,
Because that enhances productivity. The view to nature enhances productivity. And that this is why it's great to incorporate natural elements in a
yeah.
design scheme. So things like plants are really good. They
Yeah.
help you to connect to nature and feel more calm and balanced.
Okay. Interesting. Really interesting. And then, final question, and then I'll let Sue ask a question. You know, if I'm a manager or a business owner, you know, why should I be interested in this? Is it you know, because normally that you have very clinical or objective lens in terms of ROI. So is there an ROI on bringing Feng Shui? Hopefully, I said that correctly.
It's okay.
Principles to life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the big one is that if you are looking to welcome feng shui conscious customers or clients to your
Yep.
business,
Yep.
uh, super important that you incorporate feng shui there. But it's
Yep.
also I see feng shui as a tool to enhance business outcomes.
Yep.
So while there might not be it's not always easy to measure the immediate return on investment in feng
Mhm.
shui.
Yeah.
but it's about improving the energy of the people who are living and working in the space.
Yeah.
I mean, I visited a radio broadcaster recently, and they told me that they'd recently moved from a pretty daggy location to one that had abundant light, beautiful plants, that was designed really lovely. And it
Mhm.
looked like to me that it had great energy, and everybody felt more positive and more energized and were more productive. That
Yeah.
was the feedback that I got from them. And that does have an impact on
Mm.
the bottom line.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sue?
Do you think that there's I mean, you mentioned earlier when we were talking previously that earlier before we started, or you were on the morning show. So do you think there's a growing acceptance and that's why people are wanting to understand, well, how do I make the start? How do I make this transition that it's becoming more common for people to want to consider
Absolutely.
energy and their energy management?
Yes, it is. It's definitely becoming more common now. It's something that's more accepted. People are talking about manifesting and energy and all that sort of thing, which has changed so much in the last even, 5 years.
Mm.
And just in the last month, I've been on TV and had a couple of magazine articles in print talking about the benefits of feng shui, in big, Better Homes and Gardens, Harper's Bazaar, and
Wow.
lately in Vogue and all sorts of other magazines.
Mm.
And so because of that growth in the well-being market, I think feng shui has just been one of those things that has ridden on the back of that. And people are just more interested in it. Feng shui has been one of those things that has been a bit on the down low in the past, and people haven't sort of come out and talked about it too much because
Mm.
of that association with superstition.
Mhm.
And but I think now people are starting to realize that there are a lot of myths and misconceptions, not just about that, that it should be aligned with beautiful design. So
Mm.
in a way, the industry is fighting against a bad name because of a lot of rubbish out there on the internet.
Yes.
What, are you
And
saying there's rubbish on the internet? No.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
and if you wanted to do something, does it have to be a big investment, or can you just do little things that incrementally change over time, or do you have to sort of
Yeah.
say, okay, well, I'm going to gut my house and start all over again? Like, what are the steps that you can do?
Small changes can create powerful shifts in your life. So
Mm.
a big change that people can do straight away is look at the clutter around their space. So clutter is like public enemy number one of feng shui. It blocks
Mm-hmm.
energy flow and creates obstacles. And if you clear the clutter, it allows space for new opportunities to arrive. So look at the clutter around your entrance. That's really important, and around your immediate workspace, even where you sleep. So that's a big one.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and also, yes, your point about gutting a place and starting again. Well, you can even go back from there and say, well, how do we incorporate feng shui principles into the place that I select when it's time for me to lease a business premises or buy a new home? So if I'm involved in purchase decisions as well. But yeah, you get the biggest bang for your buck by incorporating feng shui in the design concept stage. But there are ways that you can mitigate poor feng shui design through, at any stage. So at any stage, someone like me can help. Yeah,
And do you engage in, like you talk about design, does that include the colors that you might, it's obviously the design and layout, but does it include your furniture, fittings and equipment? Do you get involved in that stage as well?
absolutely. So in feng shui, we work with on the intangible energy layer. We work with an energy map, which is like a horoscope, I guess, of a building that tells me where the positive and negative energy sectors are. So where is the wealth sector? Where's the positive energy for harmony, health, and relationships? Where's the good energy for authority? Where's the toxic energy that relates to theft and scandal or that sort of thing? And we use the five elements to balance that energy map. And the five elements are used in Chinese metaphysics. They are the elements of fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And each of those elements relates to a particular color, shape, and material. So we incorporate the colors, the finishes by analyzing that energy map. So there are, different ways of looking at Feng Shui, and having a complete analysis by a Feng Shui master will ensure that you're incorporating those correct elements to support your abundance and well-being.
What are
One
those?
final
Sorry,
question.
Sue.
Just one final question, Dave. So I'm a brand, and I've already got my brand color and my brand architecture, and
Yes.
it's, and for one of a better, it's red or it's pink or it's yellow. You've already, and your brief is we want you to look at it from a holistic point of view, but that is a non-negotiable. How do you deal with that in your design and application?
That's a great question. And what you do with that is you bring in those colors and elements that are required through the use of shape, through the use of accessories. So we don't need to, let's say the branding color is pink. Pink is my branding color, but we need the metal element, for example. So the metal element is also white and metallics. So we can just incorporate that in the extra decor that we put around a reception area, for example. But I don't advise that people go overboard with painting walls red, because that is, the color red is actually amplifies energy regardless of whether it's positive or negative. So
Right.
red is one of those things that's really important to be careful with. And also water features as well. Water features amplify energy. So getting those decisions right is ideal. But having said that, look, if there are things that can't be changed, it's about maximizing the energy of what we can change. So I just tell people, if they have some negative feng shui design feature in their home or in their office, don't focus on that. Just focus on what you can improve to empower you. I look at feng shui in the lens of through the lens of empowerment, and not through fear. And that if you, oh gosh, I'm sitting here and I don't have a solid wall behind me, things are going to go badly, or I'm going to die or something. No, well, what can we do to mitigate that situation? Okay, so if you've got the big corridor behind you and people are walking behind you all the time and it feels like you're getting backstabbed, get a big solid chair or have a screen behind you. So it's looking at other ways that you can mitigate those situations.
Thank
And it
you,
doesn't need
Danny.
to be expensive either. It doesn't need to be expensive.
And just a curious, question. You talked about the sort of the different energy sources that exist within a particular room or a house or a building, and you listed off some of those. I mean, how do you? Again, I feel as I'm asking really dumb questions, but that's why we've got really smart people on this show. But how do you then identify those sort of energy sources?
It's based on the floor plan. It's
Yep.
based on the orientation of the building to the
Yep.
degree.
Okay.
And it's also based on when the building was constructed.
Yep.
So, and also the birth data of the occupants, if we're working with a home or a small business, if it's if there's just a couple of key players within the office space.
Yep.
So those pieces of data I will use to then figure out what the energy map is. There are bunch of calculations and formulas that are required.
Wow. Hence
to figure all that out.
So hence your former career as an accountant might be helpful then, if there's.
It is helpful because it's all about, it was about problem solving and numbers, and there's a lot of that in feng shui. There's a lot of analysis sort of work.
Cool. And then you also mentioned birth data.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. So I can analyze your birth date and then tell you what your favorable directions are. So the best direction for you to face in terms of your seating position, the best direction for you to sleep in terms of your bedroom. And sometimes those things can conflict with the placements on the energy map and where the best energy is. So for example, we want to have the front door or the entrance to the office space in the wealth sector, because that will help to amplify that energy where possible. But if we can't do that because of the orientation of the building or whatever, then we just look at other ways of how to get around it. So it can be just a bit of organizing of priorities.
Yeah, great. That's fascinating. Sue,
Well, I was more thinking about the fact that you're moving into a new house,
Yes.
and you need to declutter very clearly.
Did you see my facial expression when
Yeah, I did.
I
Yeah.
mentioned? Yeah, yes, yeah,
I'm thinking, hopefully you're
yeah,
taking lots of notes about this discussion,
correct.
because it's going to
Yes,
be some very good practical application
yeah,
for the
yeah.
next phase of your life. Yes.
Yeah. And I realise my current house is I'm a very good case study of what not to do.
That's okay. We've got to start from somewhere.
Correct. Yeah. So what have you loved, and
Exactly.
what have you learned, in all of this? What are the things that you go, wow, that was the aha moment that I went, and then what have you learnt about yourself or others going through this journey?
Well, the biggest thing that I learned was in writing my book was that I should just back myself, because it's
Mhm.
very easy to get consumed in what other people think and how other people are practicing in the industry, and I'm doing fine the way I am, and I just love getting the message out there. So I've loved connecting with new people, connecting with creatives. I mean, my industry is just, and what I do is really fun. I work with a lot of designers and architects and big buildings, and small ones as well. And I love helping the homeowners and seeing the success stories. And writing the book has been very has been one of those things that's helped me really step into my authority, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And but it's also been hard to do that, because you think, oh my God, I'm getting all of me out there in the public domain now, and everyone can read
Mm.
about it. So it's
Yeah.
quite scary, a lot scarier than I expected that to be.
And when was it 2024 or 2023 when the book came out?
It was 2024. Yeah,
2024.
it
Okay.
was just last year. It's coming up to a year that it was released.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And one final question for me, if I can. So my question is around what are the common myths or misunderstandings? You've covered a couple of those, but
Yeah.
if we think about the concept of Feng Shui, I think I've said that correctly finally. Okay, myths or misunderstandings. That's my final question for you.
Well, firstly, that feng shui is just for Asian people, which it's not. It's for
Hmm.
everyone.
Yep.
That it's about decorating with tacky, lucky objects, which it's not. We
Yeah.
don't need the waving cat and the golden toad spitting out the coin to have a good feng shui, to have good feng shui in our environment. It's about making sure that feng shui solutions are aligned with your design aesthetic,
Yep.
and making sure that everything flows really well.
Yep.
And also that, what else was there? So I've come to a
That's
blank.
right. No, the question was about common myths or common misunderstandings.
Common myths and
Yeah,
misunderstandings.
but I think
Yeah.
you covered just then, but also you covered it through our conversation as well. So, hey, Jane, I've got my lots more questions, so I could keep on going, but really conscious of your time. So I wanted to really firstly thank you for a really interesting discussion. I've certainly learned a lot. And I've just got a to-do list, which has got even longer. So thank you very much for that.
You're
Sue,
welcome.
what did Jane get you thinking about? We opened my opening question to you was about, is your house full of abundance? Has this helped to confirm that it is?
I like the way you talked about energy management, because I think
Mm,
that's a really great concept, and it's quite broad. The fact that you want to have your home needs to be something that you love and that it uplifts you and that gives you positive energy, and that's a great, I suppose, metaphor for life in general. That's what you should do. And just finally, when you talked about your book and backing yourself and stepping into your own authority, I think, that's incredible advice, because I think there's a lot of us that just go, oh, maybe, should I, sometimes you just got to take that one step across the line and back yourself. So yeah, they were sort of my takeaways, but yeah.
cool. And then Jane, if people want to learn more, if they want to, purchase your book or engage you for public speaking, how do they get in contact with you?
Contact me through my website, which is
Yep.
fengshuiconcepts.com.au, or check me out on Instagram at Feng Shui Concepts. I'm also on LinkedIn. And if it's all too hard for you to spell the word Feng Shui. Just if you Google it, actually, Jane Feng Shui, I'm kind of everywhere. So
Fantastic. Terrific. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really great conversation. So Jane, thank you so much for joining us. Sue, great to see you again, and thank you. We look forward to bringing the next edition of On My Couch. We also post an audio version of this on Spotify, so you can listen to past episodes there. And also, in the meantime, if you want to find more about what OMC Group does and how we work, then have a look at our website, which is omc-group.com.au. So, Jane, Sue, thank you very much.
thanks so much. Great to be here.
Thanks, Damien.